My son shoved me in my own kitchen and walked out. "You'll be fine," he said. "Sleep it off." Then he grabbed his keys and drove to dinner. I lay there on the tile, blood running into my ear, and I remember thinking how cold the floor was. Funny thing to think about when your own child just put his hands on you. But that's what came to my mind, the cold. Before I passed out, I made one call. Not to 911. Not to my wife, who'd been dead 3 years by then. I called my lawyer. I should back up. My name's Frank. I'm 63. I raised 2 kids mostly alone after Carol died, and I thought I did a decent job. Marcus, my son, moved back in with me 18 months ago. Said he needed to get back on his feet after his divorce. I said of course. What father wouldn't? I didn't know yet that he'd already talked to a lawyer of his own. About the house. About my house. The one Carol and I paid off in 2009. The one with both our names on the deed, then just mine after she passed. Marcus started small. Little comments about how the house was too big for one person. How I should think about the future. How his sister Renee didn't need it since she had her own place in Denver. I thought he was just worried about me. I didn't think my own son was building a case. That night, the night on the kitchen floor, started over something stupid. A missing bank statement. I'd noticed a few things gone from my file cabinet the week before. Nothing dramatic, just papers out of order. I mentioned it at dinner, half joking. Marcus didn't laugh. "You're getting confused, Dad," he said. "You've been getting confused a lot lately." I hadn't been confused about anything. I said so. He stood up so fast his chair hit the wall. "You knew?" I asked him, because something in his face told me this wasn't about a bank statement anymore. Knew what? "Whatever you're not telling me." He didn't answer that. He just looked at me the way you look at a problem you're tired of solving gently. Then he shoved me. I don't think he meant to send me into the counter edge. I really don't. But that's the thing about people. Meaning to and doing it aren't as far apart as we like to pretend. He looked down at me for a second. Just a second. Then he said the thing about sleeping it off, and he left for his dinner reservation, some steakhouse downtown. I found the receipt later. $240, 8:15 p.m., table for 4. While I was on the floor. I made that call to my lawyer instead of 911 for a reason. And it's not the reason you'd think. It's not because I didn't want help. It's because I already knew, somewhere underneath the pain and the ringing in my ears, that this had been coming for a while, and I wasn't going to waste the one clear-headed moment I had left before the ambulance showed up. I gave her 3 sentences. She only needed 1 back. "I've been waiting for you to call." That should have scared me more than it did. Hearing your own lawyer say she'd been waiting for you to call? Turns out Renee had gotten there first. Not to hurt me, to warn her. My daughter had noticed things too, calls between Marcus and a real estate agent, a folder on his laptop labeled Dad's House Options that he'd left open on the kitchen table one morning and slammed shut when she walked in. She hadn't told me, said she didn't want to believe it either. I woke up in the hospital with 4 stitches above my eyebrow and a concussion they wanted to watch overnight. Renee was in the chair next to the bed. She'd driven 6 hours straight from Denver. "Where's your brother?" I said. Not really a question. "He doesn't know I'm here." "He doesn't know I'm here either, I bet." She looked at her hands. "He called me, before I left. Said you fell." I almost laughed. Would have hurt too much. "I didn't fall, Renee." "I know." That's when she told me about the folder, about the calls, about a name that kept coming up, a man named Gerald Haas, some kind of consultant Marcus had been meeting for coffee twice a month since March. I'd never heard of him. I should have been angrier in that hospital bed. Instead, I felt strangely calm, the way you do right after you stop bleeding and your body just decides it's done panicking. I asked my lawyer, Cheryl, to find out who Gerald Haas was. It took her 4 days. He wasn't a consultant. He was a guardianship attorney. The kind people hire when they want to prove a parent can't manage their own affairs anymore. Marcus wasn't trying to talk me into selling the house. He was trying to get himself declared my legal guardian. Full control. Bank accounts, property, medical decisions, everything. And the missing bank statements? Not confusion on my part. He'd been photographing them for 2 months, building a file of irregular transactions. Bills I'd paid twice by accident, a donation to a cancer charity I'd genuinely forgotten making, a check I'd written to my brother for his grandson's braces. Normal stuff, the kind of thing anyone does, but stacked up together and handed to a judge by a son who says his father's declining, it reads different. I sat with that for a long time, longer than I want to admit, because here's the part nobody tells you about betrayal from your own child. It doesn't come in like a storm. It comes in like weather changing so slow you don't notice until you're standing in the rain wondering when it started. I thought about the shove, about the floor, about sleep it off. I think that was supposed to be the last straw that pushed me toward whatever version of me he needed for the paperwork. Confused, unstable, a man who falls in his own kitchen for no reason, except I didn't fall, and I remembered every second of it. Cheryl asked me what I wanted to do. Press charges for the shove. That was step one. Easy. Done. Filed within the week. But the guardianship attempt, that needed something else. That needed proof he'd been planning this, not reacting to some sudden concern for my well-being. You need his own words, she said, something he can't explain away. I thought about that folder Renee saw, gone now, probably, deleted the second he realized she'd seen it. But Gerald Haas kept records, consultants like him always do. Cheryl sent a request for his client file the next morning. He didn't know yet that his own paperwork was about to become the thing that ended him. Gerald Haas's office fought the request for 2 weeks. Attorney-client privilege, they said. Cheryl expected that. She didn't need his files, not really. She just needed him to know we were looking. Fear does more work than subpoenas sometimes. 3 days after his office got that letter, his assistant called Cheryl. Off the record, she said. Just wanted to talk. She'd been the one taking notes in every meeting Marcus had with him since March. Said she'd started feeling sick about it, watching a grown man plan how to strip his father's independence away over coffee like he was discussing a kitchen remodel. She still had her personal notebooks, not the official file. Dates, quotes, all of it. In one meeting, she read this to Cheryl word for word. Marcus had said, "He doesn't need to know until it's already filed. Easier that way for everyone." Easier for everyone, meaning easier for him. She said yes before I even finished asking if she'd testify. Said she had a father too. I didn't press charges over the guardianship attempt itself. There's no clean law for my son tried to strip my rights away before I even knew he was trying. But the assault charge from the kitchen stood on its own just fine. And once Cheryl laid the guardianship filing next to 2 months of photographed bank statements, next to Gerald Haas's own notes, the judge saw exactly what pattern he was looking at. Marcus's lawyer called it concern. A worried son, overwhelmed, handled it badly. The judge didn't buy overwhelmed. Overwhelmed doesn't photograph bank statements for 8 weeks straight. Overwhelmed doesn't book a filing appointment the same week as your father's birthday. He got probation, mandatory anger management, and a restraining order the judge added herself before I even asked. The guardianship petition never got filed at all. Once his own consultant's notes hit a judge's desk, his attorney pulled it before it could bury him any deeper. Marcus lost the thing he actually wanted. It was never the house. It was control. He moved out that same month. Turns out I'd never added him to the deed, something he'd apparently assumed I had, somewhere along the way. I don't even remember deciding not to. Some part of me just never got around to it. That part of me saved everything. Renee stayed a few weeks while I healed. We didn't talk about Marcus much. There wasn't a lot left to say that hadn't already been said in a courtroom. He's called twice since. Both times I let it go to voicemail. The second one, he said he was sorry. Said he'd been under pressure. Said he wanted to talk when I was ready. I think about that assistant sometimes. A stranger who never met me, who decided her conscience mattered more than her paycheck. I sent her a card. She said she just couldn't sit on it. I still live in that house, still make coffee in the same kitchen where it happened. There's a small chip in the tile by the counter, right where I went down. I never had it fixed. Some mornings I just look at it and think, that's the day he finally showed me who he really was. Best thing he ever did for me, honestly.